Hi, this is Tim Mosier, doing my critical thinking assignment number 5, how to handle interpersonal conflict at work. Now, I'm doing this during the Bronco game, and I'm not very happy about how bad they are, but I'm going to describe the 5 conflict handling styles in detail. And I think, being a basketball coach, I think I've had to do all of them, or at least I've done them all over my 20-some years of coaching. So I think the first one, let's go through, is accommodating. And this is when, I guess, you just cooperate. And you kind of just, I thought it was effective just for future reasons, just to accommodate the other person. I do that quite often. I know I had to do this in my last job a lot when I didn't want to really deal with the situation, so I just accommodated it. Second one is avoiding. And, as a basketball coach, I used to tell our kids, you can either confront a situation or a conflict or avoid it. Or ignore it, I should say. But a lot of people don't ignore it. I think people gossip and stuff like that. So avoiding is, I've done it. I've tried to just feel like I could not confront a situation, so I've just avoided it altogether. And that just means I'm just trying to help the other person reach their goals and put myself aside. And that's happened quite a bit. Third handling style is collaboration and collaborating. And I've done this quite a bit. I would say that trying to, as I've grown, you start to see there's conflict. You kind of go, there's a big goal at the end of for the organization or whatever. For us, if it's basketball, if you have a conflict with a player or a staff member or a peer, you try to collaborate with them because there's a bigger picture involved. And I just want to make sure that no matter what, we both win if we win. So I guess that's the situation, and I've handled that quite a bit, and I'm in that situation now a little bit where I think as I've matured, I just say, hey, we're in this together. You get some younger coaches or some people that think you have some conflict with or different sets of opinions. No matter what it is, let's understand if we're both assistant coaches helping the head coach, or if you're the head coach, it's a win-win. That's your job. And then I think when I was younger, I did the 4th style, and that's competing, and that's a situation where it's a win-lose approach. Someone's going to win, someone's going to lose. And when I was younger, I think my ego got involved quite a bit, so I've competed in those situations quite a bit when there was conflict. I know I can remember a situation when I was at the University of Utah with another younger coach, and I just competed with it, and I thought it was really bad for me. And then there's the 5th one is compromise. And as an assistant coach, I feel like I do that quite a bit. You kind of fight the battles you can, and you don't. And you just kind of make sure that this is a kind of a lose-lose scenario where neither party really achieves what they want. But I think there's kind of a moderate level of assertiveness for me in that situation. So I've done that quite a bit. Now, as I've read a little bit more about these 5 management styles, I pulled something off the internet, and it's in my reference about there's 5 other ways that this guy, I think it's James Jeffrey James, talked about how you need to do. He thought 5 things were pretty, and I think they kind of relate with those 5. He says, pick your battles carefully, be smart, and I think when you're in a conflict, I try to do that quite a bit and make sure that you don't fight a battle that gets you fired or cause more conflict and make the situation worse. And number 2 is admit when you're wrong, and that's his way, and I think that's true. Just if sometimes just look at yourself and say, maybe I did make a mistake in that situation, and then. I know in my situation now, my dad used to teach me this quite a bit. And he says, lose a battle to win the war. There's a big picture, So as a basketball coach and, after being a head coach for a while in a situation I'm in, you can't win every battle. You got to let some other people do it and understand there's a big picture, there's an end goal. So I always try to make sure I might lose one to get the big one. And that's what I try to do. And then I think the older I've got, or this fourth, I guess, strategy that he says is assume other people have good intentions, and I really like that. I think that's a good idea that I'm going to try to. I haven't really heard that before, but I think I'm going to try to take that to work because everyone maybe their ego's involved, maybe not, but maybe they really want to succeed, and maybe they really do have good intentions with everything. So, and then lastly, I think this is something just personally for me. I want to make sure that I forgive more easily, more often, and do it quicker. Do it quicker. If you make a mistake, just try to end that conflict. Just say, hey, I'm sorry, move on, and smile more, and do that. Now, the second part of this question talks about how gender plays a role in this. And, as a male, but I've coached women's basketball for a while, I wrote down some things that I thought were, and part of women's basketball. I've worked with several women's assistants that deal with conflict differently than I have, and I think there's some things, and I asked them personally about just this question, and some of the things they wrote down is they said, they feel that they're less comfortable in a situation like that because they think they're viewed as less competitive. I think they try to take a back seat sometimes. They kind of play down their role. They really ignore if they do have conflict because they don't want to be viewed as as difficult to work with, and I don't think they want to rock the boat. And there's been plenty of people that feel that they're on the level, and that's, as sad as that sounds, I think that's true in many cases with how gender plays a role, where men have the power and are probably more comfortable, more competitive in their coercive style at work, and they can do that. No, culture. I've been part of really good cultures where conflict was addressed like this. And I think there's a positive with that. We were all on the same page, and the leader took control of the conflict. When he kind of felt, or she felt, that there was an issue between two individuals, I thought it was really positive when that leader got involved and said, "Hey, we're all on the same team," and sat us down and said, "Let's work through this," and tried to make sure that he invested himself in that conflict. And I think there's some negative to it. I think there's some of the negative cultures when the leader would maybe bring somebody in and talk behind someone else's back, and or talk about someone else, and that created a culture of more conflict, because as what he thought maybe was secretive, it got out there and became gossip. So and then people lost trust in them. So I think the culture is really, really important in this situation, and I know in the situation I'm in now, I really enjoy it. We have a head coach that really takes pride in making sure he addresses if there's anything wrong. He tries to take us out to eat and talks about it all the time. So I think the culture within the organization is really how it handle it. But I've also been on the other side where, people they avoid it, or they're afraid. They're really passively how they address it, and sometimes they bring in one individual, talk to them, and then they bring the other individual and talk to them, and then they talk about the other individuals while the other ones aren't there. And I think it's been bad. So I think the culture is definitely really important with dealing with conflict. Thanks a lot, and I'm going to go back and see if the Broncos can come back from this horrible halftime deficit. Take care.